All right, so when we talked a couple weeks ago about Grand Arena, um, one of the big sections that I talked about was mods and putting the correct mods onto characters. And that generated um, actually a lot more feedback and questions than the other two-thirds of that talk combined. So I figured that I would dive a little bit more into mods for the probably this week and the next couple weeks, just because mods and modding is basically the game within the game. Um, I know last week we talked about how you could focus on what you want to farm, and that allows you to make a really nice, slimmed down roster that, compared to people around your power level, you're going to be stronger than them. But it doesn't matter if you're stronger than other people if your mods are bad, or if you don't have the mods on the right characters. And so that's a really important topic that I wanted to probably spend, like I said, it's probably going to be 2 or 3 weeks talking about mods. Um, and so I wanted to start tonight, and probably this is all we're going to get through tonight, is talking about some of the questions that came up from a couple weeks ago. So, and so these aren't really in any particular order. So let's if I repeat something, that's fine. It's probably going to happen, especially if you watched the talk from a couple weeks ago. It almost certainly is going to repeat some of the same information. But since I know for a fact that at least a couple people weren't watching a couple weeks ago, that this is probably important information and new information to them. So let's start off with, how do I know what mods to put on a particular character? This is where I'm going to pull up Discord. If you guys don't have a Discord account, I would highly suggest getting one. There are a lot of servers and bots in Discord that allow you to ask them questions or have copious amounts of information for you to figure out, what path should I head in from here, or what tunes should I put on a character, that kind of thing. So when the question is, how do I know what mods to put on a particular tune? Well, there's an easy answer and a hard answer. The easy answer is, if you just want a quick overview of what a lot of other people think, you can use two bots in particular. One is Crouching Rancor bot, the other is the Star Wars it's like the GG bot, essentially. And I don't have the servers that they come from offhand. But if you're in a server that has one of these two bots in them, first one, the prefix is the %sign. So it'll be %sign, mods, and then a character name. So when we get our shiny new Commander Luke Skywalker in a couple weeks. Hey, Thisk. Thanks for the raid. And thank you, LibLove, for the... Oh, hey, Lib. Yeah, thank you for the follow. Thank you, guys. Welcome. Today we're talking about mods. So yeah, it's the %sign, mods, and then a character's name. So when we get our shiny new Commander Luke Skywalker in a couple weeks. You can go into a server or find the bot somewhere and give it a direct message, and it's the %mods, and we can just say Commander Luke Skywalker, and it'll give us a response. And it will actually give us two options, because with Commander Luke Skywalker you can mod him in a couple of different ways, or it's suggested that you could mod him in a couple of different ways. First is speed and HP, and then it gives you a breakdown of what kind of mods you want to aim for in each slot. And the second one is one for raid configuration, where you want him with crit damage and crit chance. So you can use that. You can use the other bot, which has a semicolon, but the exact same command. So you can do semicolon mods Commander Luke Skywalker. And more than likely you're going to get the exact same information. This is more of a what kind of UI would you prefer to see? So you'll get, again, general speed, HP, and crit damage, crit chance for raid. Now, disclaimer, this is what other people think is generally best for Commander Luke Skywalker. The best, it may depend on what kind of mods you have and what your goals are. You know, depending on what you're looking for, and with reading a character's kit, you may decide that you actually want more potency on your character. So maybe you throw a potency set on instead of the health set. So you could go speed potency. Or you give a potency, the potency cross instead. You know, that's entirely up to you. So, in general, secondary stats are another way, actually, of overcoming that. Where, like, for Commander Luke Skywalker, in some ways you want a little bit of potency, but you don't necessarily want to devote your entire cross mod to that. So you can look for mods that have a little bit of secondary potency on them. For the most part, though, you want your secondaries to be high speed or high flat offense. Sometimes you also want crit chance, depending on the character. And a lot of times you want the secondaries that you want them to line up with the sets that you're putting on your character as well. So like Commander Luke Skywalker, if you're going for your speed set, you probably want as many speed secondaries as possible. Now granted, in general, in this game, speed outweighs just about everything else, unless a character's kit is specifically designed not to work with speed or to work better with something else. Examples of this would be like Geonosian Soldier, where you actually care about having your Geonosian Soldier at a certain crit chance percent. And that matters more than having a high speed on him, because him critting gives him turn meter. So it's both, you know, what mods do you put on a particular tune? It's both looking at recommendations from other people, looking at the character's kit and what kind of stats they synergize well with. And one final tool that I use, and actually, turns out I've answered like the next two questions already. One other tool that I use a lot at least for thought thought experiments, is the Grand Ivory tool. And let's pull this over. If you guys haven't seen this before, we're gonna put this in chat and hope that it doesn't get eaten. Yay, look at that. All right. So the Grand Ivory tool is an amazing little tool. You're able to, when you first go in, it's gonna ask you to put in your ally code. So I've put in my ally code in here. And when you hit the fetch my data button, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna refresh this real quick and say fetch my data. And what this is going to do is it's going to pull all of your characters in their current gear level, and it's also going to pull all of the mods that you have equipped in the game. So this is not all of the mods that you have in your inventory. So if we head over into game here, and I pull over here into Dooku's mods, all these guys over here on the left, all these are not in the optimizer right now. Yeah, so my suggestion is, if you have a mod that you think would be good, throw it on a trash character, get it into the optimizer, and then see where you should pull it afterwards. Yeah, it's a little credit heavy, but in the end, it's totally worth it. So here's how this is going to look when. Here's how this is going to look. So it's going to have all your characters here. And so what I would suggest is, on the available characters display, make it so that you have hide selected turned on. I would suggest pulling your threshold to change mods to be about 10% or so. Otherwise, it can get really expensive if you're using this tool often. And then make sure for these, I would check neither of these boxes. So while, and we'll get there, this particular one says don't break mod sets. You actually don't want this to be checked, because this tool finds the best possible characters for or the best possible mods for a character, and it takes mod sets into account, but sometimes you have better mods with better secondaries for characters that actually end up giving you more value without having that set bonus. Especially for like your first pass through, don't check either of these buttons. And then in here is all your characters and their current status. And then over on the right, where we currently have nothing, is characters and the order in which you want characters to be prioritized. So this step is going to take a little bit of work and a little bit of thought, and I'm not going to be able to tell you exactly what your priorities are going to be or what they should be right now, because that's entirely dependent upon you. But if you double click, or you can click and drag characters over to the side, if you have the hide selected, they'll disappear from over here, so you can slowly build a priority for you. So in this case, if I care mostly about my Darth Revan Arena team, go Darth Revan, Fallen Bastila, HK47, who I just put 2 new shiny Zetas on earlier this week. Woo! Sith Trooper, you're down here. And then I've been using Thrawn with them. And you do this, so on and so forth. I do them mostly in full squads. So after Darth Revan, I would do Jedi Knight Revan and his squad. Astla GMY, General Kenobi. It becomes pretty quick when you're just double clicking on them, putting them over on the side. So Mother Talzin, Saj, Moldaka, Zombie, Acolyte, Rhea, Scion, Nihilus. I don't care. A trio works together as a trio. I'm not going to put them as a squad, etc., etc. And so now we put in 20 or so. Now you get to go through. Well, actually, you can now just hit this button over here. This says optimize my mods. And voila. It tells you, hey, for me, with what I just did, I should reassign 74 mods. And then tells you just how many credits it's gonna take to do that. But let's say, okay, so I looked at it and I went, well, so for Darth Revan, it's caring a lot about speed. What if I don't want my Darth Revan to be fully focused on speed? This is a bad example, but what if I want my Darth Revan to have, like, the highest potency in the game? Well, let's go back to change my selection and come over here. And every character has a little target on them. So some of them were based upon different questions or different targets that the community originally came up with. So like Fallen Bastila has a low star or a 7-star based upon if you were using Fallen Bastila when she was still not farmable yet, but she could definitely be used in Arena. Same thing when you come down to Jolie. Do you care about him being as like a healer, or do you want him to have high health and speed? Those kind of targets. But you can also come in here, and if you click on the edit button, it pops up a screen. And in here, you get to set what kind of weights you want to give targets. So I said, I want my Darth Revan to be the highest potency in the game. So like, there we go. We'll make speed be a 50. And we're gonna bump potency up all the way, 100. All potency. As much potency as possible. And then yeah, we don't have to do that right now. Something else you can do is you can say, I want my character to have a target. So like, my potency must be at least 120%. Let's see if this even works. Let's go ahead and say save. And go back and optimize it's going to warn you if you do use target stats, it's going to take a bit of time. So let's go ahead and do that and hope that it doesn't take forever. Because now we're on live TV. Everything can happen. All right, we're going to give it like another 30 seconds or so. I'm not sure that I have enough potency in my mods to actually add like 100 potency to this guy. The answer is it probably doesn't. All right, let's get rid of that. Doesn't matter. No target. We still have potency weighted out to be the highest priority. So let's see what this does. All right, look at that. We got potency up to 119. We were close. So yeah, using our value, the values that we have set, we can now add 70% potency to our Darth Revan, and that ends up being a value change of almost 100%. So this is now a 100% better Darth Revan based upon the weights that we have given it. I'm just going to go ahead and reset that. For the most part, you're probably not going to have to play around with that too much. If you're doing very specific teams, you could. You may have to give exact stat targets for teams if you're doing Chex Mix in Part 3 of the Sith Raid, for example. And once we figure out what mods we should be moving using this tool, for example, if I were to go ahead and do this, this would give me an increase of 15 speed on my Darth Revan, and it would lose 4 speed on my Bast Lashan. So I'm not actually going to go ahead and do it, but if I were to do it, I would go into game, reassign these mods, and then go ahead and click this button that says I reassigned these mods. And it will make everything be live as it is right now. So if I find one, yeah, so like this one was a mod that was on Darth Revan before. It's now marked as though it's not assigned to someone because it's not. And so on and so forth. I reassigned these mods, I reassigned these mods, I reassigned these mods. That's slow. It's a slow process. It will probably take you a little while to do your whole roster. If you wanted to expedite that process and you had $10 a month to throw around and you were okay with potentially, well, definitely breaking the terms of service of the game, but probably not being punished for it, you could use Hot Utils. That's a $10 a month subscription, and you can use his tool to log into the game. It allows you to directly modify your game account. So what you can do is, I took these things. You can click the export for hot utils button. It gives you a file to download. You feed that file to hot utils, and hot utils will modify your account, and all your mods will be redone. It will still cost you the credits, and as this says as well, use at your own risk. So I'm not condoning or promoting necessarily that you do this. I'm just saying it's an option that's out there. Let's see. I think that's a lot of information about how you can find mods for particular characters. Let's see. Another question that we had was, is speed always most important? And if not, when and why? And so I know I touched on this a little bit earlier. By and large, speed is going to be the most important stat in Galaxy of Heroes. Like, just period. Taking more turns is always the best option. However, there are characters who might want something else instead. And that is kit dependent. So, I think we mentioned... Guess what? He's down further. We mentioned Geonosian Soldier. Ooh. Let's take a look at his kit. So, Geonosian Soldier says that he gains 25% turn meter when scoring a critical hit. And guess what? When he's got the Hive Mind buff from Geonosian Brute Alpha, he's attacking every single turn that a Geonosian takes. So, in reality, rather than putting effort into making your soldier really fast, you should instead... Yeah, I have not played with my mods in a while. It's probably better, and you're going to get more turns by having his critical chance higher, even though normally you want speed to be higher. And you want to aim for like a 90-ish, like, ideally, you want to aim for like a 90-ish% chance, critical chance on Geonosian Soldier, because then he should be taking turns pretty often. Not to mention, he does a pretty good amount of damage. Other examples that you may want to keep in mind are characters that have built-in counterattacks. So like Enfi's Nest, who can completely solo certain teams. You can mod her for speed, but oftentimes I've found it's better to just stack as much tenacity as you can on her. And as long as she doesn't get stunned, she's going to be attacking as much as she can, you know, because when she gets attacked, she has a chance to fight back as long as she's not stunned. Plus, allowing her to fight through stuns and other debuffs allows you to throw her in to 1v5 those Ewoks. And the murder bears are only murderous if if they're not feeding her half of her max protection every single turn. The next question that I had was what interactions promote the use of non-speed mods? And I'm pretty sure that the answer to the previous question also answers that pretty well, where you're going to care less about speed mods if you have something built into a character that gives them turn meter, or gives them some kind of counterattack. So, are there any generalizations about mods that can be used as a shortcut? So, this is when you're looking at a character. Like, can I use a generalization about a character? What kind of mods do I want to put on them? And the answer to that is really not really. So like, yeah, a lot of attackers, you're going to want to be putting crit damage on them. But not necessarily, because not all attackers are gonna have interactions with how they crit. You know, you're going to want to care a lot more about how your character interacts with other characters than anything else. Another good example of this is if you're using Darth Treya, or thinking about modding Darth Treya. I think it's not as super relevant anymore as it was when Revan first came out. But the Revan, the Jedi Knight Revan AI always targets Treya first with his everybody mass attack. And the counter to that, if you're fighting with Darth Treya, is that you actually want to be modding your Treya with defense mods. And good defense mods allows you to fight through Jedi Knight Revans, whereas without defense mods, you end up not doing as well. So it is important to keep that kind of interactions in mind as well. You know, is my character going to be tanky, or is my character an attacker that, or in this case, I think Treya might be a support. But either way, she is the one that is targeted most often. So we have another good question, is how important are 5-dot and 6-dot mods? So most important thing, when it comes to mods, anything 4-star and below, you should just be selling. I know you just like get them randomly. You should probably often just go in here and just all these guys, if you've got any, select all, sell, done. You don't even think about it. You can't. Any mod that is less than 5 dots, so 4-dot and below mods, you can't slice them. The secondaries are going to be much worse than a 5-dot mod, and it's just overall not not worth the investment. That's true. You can save if there was one 4-dot mod that you were going to save. It's any of your primary speed arrows. I don't know if I've got any. I probably have like 1 or 2. Ah, yes. On my Droidica. So yeah, I guess I do keep a couple around. But everything else, just get rid of it. It'll just clutter up your inventory. You're not gonna want them. As far as figuring out what you want to bring up to 6-dot, the biggest rule of thumb that I've found, the 2 most important secondaries so these are the secondaries that you want on the majority of characters. You care about speed, and you care about offense. And for tanks, you care about flat protection or percent protection. And then the last like potential keep is something where you have like 4 rolls. So you got a yellow mod or sorry, a gold mod, and you had something that rolled like 5 secondaries into this one, or it rolled 5 times into 1 secondary, and suddenly you have a mod that has let's see, you have like a mod that's got my non-potency suddenly you have a mod that's like 7% in potency as a secondary. That is a mod you would consider keeping. You also want to look at your primaries, and you also want to look at your sets. Oftentimes, there's not that many characters that want a defensive set. So you're only really going to be keeping defensive set mods if their primaries and secondaries are actually really good. But in general, if you are looking for mods to upgrade, here's how I do it at least. I look at speed and offense on secondaries. Look for 5 dots. And say confirm. And you sort by speed. You take a look. And depending on what you're looking at doing, if you're looking at slicing, not for, well, if you're looking for slicing 6 dots, yeah, don't do that. Doing this works just fine. If you're looking at upgrading others, filter into just B, C's, and D's. And then you can look at it and go, this is my highest speed mod currently that is not gold. You can take that and go, okay, I wanna slice this. And of course it rolls defense again, so now it's trash. Same kind of thing. Speed, offense. Here a little bit. Go, oh look, I got speed. Oh look, I got protection. You'd prefer in a 3-2-2. Yeah, this isn't bad. You'd prefer that last protection roll have been offense or speed, again, as usual. But those are the kinds of things, in general, though, of what you're looking for. If you're looking for something in particular, you can do that. Like, if you're looking for, here's your tenacity, you want to sort by tenacity, and so you can try and look for mods with high tenacity that you want to upgrade those because you're trying to create a monster and feast nest, for example. Like, yep. Just like that. And then sadness endures. So yeah, that's really how I would look for mods. Look for mods to upgrade. And technically, actually, that was the next question, was how do I prioritize mod upgrades? And like I said, you want to look for speed. Yeah, good. But then you also want to keep in mind some other stuff as well. So when we're bringing mods up to 6 dot, let's talk about what this mod would do, would bring by upgrading to a 6 dot. There's a chart somewhere, I'll see if I can find it, that talks about what you get from primaries and secondaries when you upgrade to 6 dot. And since it's a fair investment, a fairly large investment in order to upgrade, you want to make sure that you're getting the biggest bang for your buck, is the best way to think about it. So before 6 dot mods, protection, like percent protection, was and still is, real honestly, the best mod for the most part, because it gives the biggest raw increase in power to a character. And so when they introduced these 6 dot mods, the jump that you get from a primary percent protection mod is not as high as if you were doing a percent health or percent defense or really anything else. As far as primary stats go, protection is about the lowest numeric increase that you get. And then when you're looking at secondaries, anyone that has speed, the speed will go up by 1. Everything else goes up a little bit. You generally want to run by the same rules as what mods you're looking to slice up to gold. If you slice a good mod up to gold, you end up wanting to slice that to 6 stars, or to 6 dots, as soon as you can. So for example, more than likely, this would be the next mod that I would slice up to a 6 dot mod. And actually, probably most of my Revan mods would be up there. This guy would. This I would probably skip. It's got a high secondary speed, but it's just a health arrow. And for some reason, of all the people, it's on wedge. Whatever. I do actually think it's something like if your secondary speed is something like 25 or higher, you might get 2. I could also be wrong on that, so take that one with a grain of salt. However, what does happen is if you do 6 dot a primary speed, it will go from 30 to 32 speed. So that is also a good target to look at, is find your 6 dot mods that have speed and something like an offense secondary stat, and bring these guys up to 6 dots. 94 offense will probably add another 10 offense or so on there. And then finally, are there any tools in game to manage the mods that I want to come back to upgrade next? So there's a couple of different ways you can do this. So you can do what I do, which is just every time go in, filter, find the mod that you're looking to upgrade. You can say I'm looking for a nice tank. So protection, speed, any primary stat, we don't care. Right now it has to be, actually we're looking to upgrade, so it should not be only unassigned. Look in there, and then we sort it by speed. We go, hey, this is a good candidate to upgrade, potentially roll on. I've been upgrading a lot of mods recently, so my my selection of high candidate mods to roll are is pretty low, actually. But yeah, so you can do that. I know some people use the lock tool to do that. So I use the lock tool to lock any mods that have a secondary speed on them that I would think I would want to keep. Because every once in a while I do just kind of go in and go, oh, I'm feeling like my mod inventory is full, so just like find everything like this. And okay, see your primary speed, but everything else. Okay, yeah, I've not gone through and done all this stuff, but if these were locked, I wouldn't have to care about it. So I go ahead and lock things that I don't want to accidentally sell, and then when I just do mass purges of old mods, it doesn't affect me as much. Sometimes you lose things, but that is a sacrifice that I'm willing to make for laziness. No, don't do that. So yeah, it's up to you and your style, what you prefer. You can use the lock tool to save mods, but you can also use the lock tool to mark mods for attention. So, oh, I have a mod and this is the next one that I want to upgrade, and filter down to something where you can easily find it. Go down, go, oh, here's my locked mod. All right, slice. All right, and that brings me to the end of the questions that I had from last time. So for those of you that are in chat right now, do you have any other questions right now? Or else you can always reach out to me later. Either send me a message on Discord or tag me if you're in the Syndicate server. Just feel free to tag me.